How you doing, everybody? Welcome to the Headphones Only podcast, episode number 2. Right now we got Kelly Banks with us. He is the drummer for Death's Hand. How you doing, man?
Good man. How are you?
Pretty good. Just want to have you on because you just released a new EP.
Yeah, I got it right here. At least the physical copy. Life in Decay.
If you're around Bangor or even beyond, go get yourself a copy.
If you're in the New England area, it's kind of specific to this area, but we have a record and I guess media store, if you will, called Bull Moose. Copies are available there, at least in limited quantities. So pick them up while they're hot.
Awesome. Just to start off, probably a lot of people watching this know who you are just because you kind of made rounds through the area, different bands. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So you introduced me, obviously. Hey, man, back in 2012, started off in a band called Screaming for Closure back in the very early formative days of my drumming.
I remember
After
that
that,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, me and a few friends that are no longer in the Bangor area. But after that, that kind of died off in 2012, and then good buddy of mine, Travis, and we split and formed a band called Alter the Tides, and that went from about 2013 until 2016, the mid portion of 2016, and then I joined a band called The Waking Life, kind of out of necessity because a friend of mine at the time was like, "Hey, we need a drummer. I know you know our stuff. Like, I know you're competent." And that was that. And I was in The Waking Life for almost 2 years, and then that kind of split. And then, in the aftermath of that, everything that happened happened. And those of you
Yeah.
that know.
It was a whole saga. For anybody who doesn't know, it was just a saga, just a crazy kind
Yeah,
of
it was
series
like
of
a fever
events.
dream, but in a really bad way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, I kind of made up my mind, at least for a little while, that I didn't want to be a part of the music scene in Maine anymore, and that I just, would play music on my own. And fast forward to 2020, I want to say, the end of 2020, Ryan, our vocalist in Death's Hand, had moved from California with his fiance back to Maine, and Ryan was in The Waking Life, mind you. So I had already known Ryan. I was good buddies with Ryan, and he found me in a Walmart in Brewer randomly, out of all places, which was funny. Um, Ran into me and he was like, "Oh, hey, gonna start this project with a few guys." I mean, mind you, I didn't know Kyle or Ed at the time. I knew of them. I didn't know them personally. And he was just like, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We'll have a practice in a few weeks. Like, come hang, jam, hear the 4 songs that, we already have a rough idea of, that being the first EP
Yeah.
that we released." And from there, things kind of just took off. We started jamming those songs, played our first show, I want to say like 4 or 5 months after we first started practicing, and then released that EP shortly afterwards. And, here we are almost 3 years down the road, and we have 2 music videos. We just released the music video for Run From It today, just kind
Oh,
of shadow
nice.
drop that, yeah, on YouTube. Um, and
Nice.
released that EP about a week ago. You were at that release show, and that was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So here we
Uh,
are, 3 years down the line, 2 EPs, one single, and 2 music videos on, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
hell yeah. For everybody who is curious, that will be linked down below. As well as, the, you know, Bandcamp website, whichever, it'll all be linked in the bottom. Not to go completely into it, because, we'll save that. We save the good stuff for later. We briefly attended college together.
We did, yeah. Back in 2012, we attended what was formerly New England School of Communications. I got my degree in audio engineering there, and I think we had classes maybe the first 2 semesters, was it? Something like that?
Just the first
Just the
semester because
first
I had
one.
got a wrist injury,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. That's right. That's right.
yeah, that kind of primed you for, in the future, you're a part of a booking company in Maine.
Yep.
Not to be biased, my favorite booking company in Maine,
We work our
Ballistic
butts
Booking.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a great booking company. Jamie Way, Anthony Brown, Brandon Burgess, and Kelly does the sound for them. And you, it's one of those things. I went to the Sinclair last year to go see the Angel Maker tour, and Awaken
I
Providence
wanted
was
to wear
there.
that so bad.
It was great. It was great.
I actually
Um,
just turned a friend of mine onto Awaken Providence. They're really good.
yeah, exactly. They are really good. And I didn't get to hear Adam whatsoever when I was at the Sinclair. It was like whoever was doing sound knew how to mic every other vocalist, and then he went up, and then they just decided we don't know how to do it anymore. And you made
Which
it
is
so I could
funny
hear
because
him.
I found him really easy to mic and control his levels because most vocalists don't know how to hold a mic. They cup the
Yep.
mic or they do something that causes the mic to feedback or they're this looks funny. But they're in and out from the mic like that,
Yeah.
and you have to compress the living hell out of their vocals, and then it just ends up being a mess. But he's super super easy to work with, and for me, honestly, like because I'm used to that style of music, and he knew what he was doing, it just came natural.
How long have you been working with them?
How long have I been working with Ballistic?
Yeah, how long have you been working with
Oh man,
Ballistic?
it's almost 2 years now. So man, I'm trying to remember the first show that I attended just as a fan of music when I started going back to shows again under their banner. I think it was the first time In Spirit came to
Yeah.
Bangor. Can't remember who else they had with them that night. That was the first show that I went back to, and they
Yeah.
just had this random guy doing sound, and Jamie was like, I don't know like what you're doing, but after this show, if you want to like do it, we'll bring you in, and it's kind of history from there.
Since it's been so long, what has been your favorite show? Which I'm sure is tough to answer.
Man. Yeah. My favorite show, it had to be that Filth Wake in Providence show. Honestly, that's like the second most recent show there. All of those bands were super, super dope to work with. Like Resistor, they crushed it. Wake in Providence. I got to be good friends with Resistor and Nine Dead. Those guys were really cool too. As my cat is now rubbing on my tripod, threatening to turn it over, throw a mouse for him. But that was a really, really fun show overall to mix. Not only were every band just super easy to work with, I just felt like I was on my A game that night, and the quality hangs with all the bands after the show. It was awesome.
Yeah, I had a few people really wishing they could go.
That was the show to go to, honestly. That was probably one of the best shows we've ever had there before Queen City closed.
You don't want to be a concert video sharer because like fireworks, who really gives a shit? But
Yeah, yeah.
um
If you
I
weren't
sent
there, you weren't there.
right. I sent a few videos to some people who wanted to go, but forgot or didn't get a ticket in time, whatever.
Yeah.
And they were really up on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I could see why. It was a lot of fun. Even for me as an engineer, it was a lot of fun to mix every single band. Like all of the bands crushed it.
For people who weren't there or people who don't know anything about mixing or sound or anything, what he said sounds simple. It is not simple. Every band sounds different and it can
Yeah.
really be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, it can. And especially with vocals and heavy music, not everyone's vocal technique is the same,
Yeah.
and vocals sound vastly different not everyone is as loud as the next person, or, some people are quieter, different pitches. I mean, harsh vocals can be very difficult to amplify and work with. It's kind of it's a chore at times. It's the fine line of how much do you want to compress their vocals, sending them through the mains, because either their technique in holding the mic or using the mic is improper or not the best. And then, how much do you want to EQ it? There's a bunch of things that go into it, but it's a challenge at times for sure.
Sometimes you've had to pull double duty because
Yeah, I have done that before, and
yeah,
that's
you've had
very
to
stressful.
pull double duty. Do you get the chance to hand off the reins to somebody else when it's time for you to go warm up?
So yes. So what will happen is I'll kind of give Jamie, our manager, he runs everything day to day. I'll kind of give him some pointers and what to do and what levels to set and everything, and we'll go through it. And typically, if I do double duty, he'll be the one who is in charge of
Yeah.
mixing us. But yeah, I mean, it could be kind of difficult. And I prefer not to play shows and also have to mix, because then I'm dealing with my gear and
Yeah.
coordinating everything and also playing a set. But then after I'm done, I have to rush back to the console, get all my crap off stage, and then mix the rest of the show. So it's quite exhausting. And I've only done it a couple of times, but I prefer not to do it.
You've had a couple releases now, um, and it's correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Ryan writes all the lyrics.
Yeah, he writes all the lyrics.
How much influence do you have on the instrumentation for the music?
So, being a guitar player myself as well, I'd say I'm a half-assed guitar player. Um, I contribute some riff ideas, and sometimes they get used, sometimes they don't. But we collaborate as a whole unit. Typically, Ryan's not able to make a lot of band practices, due to time constraint issues or work or things
Yeah.
like that. But me, Ed, and Kyle will get together and we'll jam something. And the thing about us as in Death's Hand that's unique, and I guess unique to Maine, but maybe not to the rest of the world, because a lot of bands do things this way, is we file share.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being that Ed is down in Bridgeton and Kyle is in the Bath area and I'm up here in the Bangor Brewer area, it makes it a little difficult to get together consistently. So if they have ideas, they send them to me, and where I have all of my own recording
Yeah.
and mixing equipment, I can record a track to what they've sent me and then send it back to them, and they'll say, hey, I don't like this, or maybe we should try and change this. Or if I hear something on their guitar track, I'll be like, well, what if we did this different? So it makes it a little easier with the introduction of technology to
Yeah.
be able to do all of that stuff. I mean, nothing beats jamming with your band members in person, but
Of course not.
that's
Oh.
definitely the best workaround to the whole situation.
Is it just file share or is it, well, not Zoom, even though we are on Zoom, it can be a real, it's pretty much impossible to do any sort of instrument playing over it.
Yeah, with latency and all of
Yeah.
those added issues that come with video software, it can be difficult. So pretty much file share is what we do.
Yeah.
Or maybe Ed will send over a video of him playing the riff on guitar and then he'll record it later. Or Kyle has done the same thing at times too. That's pretty
Um,
much what we do. And then we'll get together with those song ideas once me and then Kyle and Ed have fleshed out those ideas, and we say, okay, hey, this is kind of set in stone. We want to run with this. We'll get together at a practice that Ryan can come to,
yeah.
and then he'll practice lyrics that he's written to everything, because we share files on our Discord server. That way Ryan can download
Yep.
any finished projects that we've done, and he can kind of practice those on his own too and kind of write accordingly.
I'm sure he's got so many songs just locked and loaded in the tank, ready to go.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Ryan's really, really creative when it comes to flow and how he does things lyrically. So when it comes to writing, I don't ever really worry about anything that he has to come up with.
He really becomes just a man possessed out there.
Yeah, he's an animal.
Yeah, when I was at the show, he came up to me, "Oh, hey man, how you doing? Oh, little hug," and then he gets up on stage and it's
Yeah.
like, "Wow, who is this guy?"
Yeah, he's an animal. He
Yeah.
lets it all out. I think Ryan's misunderstood a lot, and people tend to think the worst of him, but he's a really good guy, and like he lets it all out on stage. He's he's great.
So, like a lot of, or at least I've seen it more recently, like a lot of heavier bands, the bass is getting phased out. And I
Yeah,
know, and
yes.
I know you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys just have two guitarists, right?
Yeah, two guitars. So the way that we were doing things before we added backing tracks is that we had a signal split. So Kyle, obviously our lead guitar player, he doesn't like to say he's a lead guitar player because, but Ed used to run a signal through a guitar cab and a bass cab, and we would
Oh,
send the low end to the bass cab, and we had the signal split that way. Some bands do that nowadays as well, and it's a
yeah.
popular thing to do in the studio as well. Kind of a nice little trick if you don't want to record bass. That was before we started doing backing tracks. After we recorded our first EP, we switched fully to backing tracks. That way, all of the atmospheric stuff, the keyboards, all of those effects that we had on the EP could be implemented live too. That way, we give people that full experience. We're not sending a whole shitload of guitar tracks through the
Right.
backing tracks. Maybe some effects stuff that you would need like three or four friggin' guitar players live to pull
Yeah.
off, but the main guitar tracks we still play live. So it's mainly just because we don't have a bass player, we do send that through the backing tracks. That way you still get that low end.
Be completely honest. Do you really think that they're needed anymore with the types of, the type of tuning that's used sometimes? The extreme lows on the guitar almost can replicate it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it can be really difficult um, to achieve that as a bass player. And I definitely do feel like in a rhythm section, a good bass player is worth their weight in gold. But right now, for us, I mean, keeping it simple where there's
Yeah.
only four of us, it works best for us. And I think it kind of it could be taken as a situational basis, or on a situational basis. If you have someone around you that's an excellent bass player that actively contributes
Yeah.
ideas and meaningful things to your band, then having a bass player might be the right thing for you. Where we're in Maine and there's a lack of great musicians around here that aren't already in actively
Right.
touring
Yeah.
or gigging bands that don't want to be in multiple bands, it makes it difficult. And kind of out of necessity, it forced us to, do this. And then later on, we realized, oh, like, I mean, we don't really, I guess, need a bass player. We sound full live because
Yeah.
we put those backing tracks through the mains and the bass is in there. So it does definitely help us in that aspect.
Back to the situational thing. And I am not as keen on, names and who plays what in, the, award-winning bands or the we've been around for 15
Yeah.
years bands. A Day to Remember, I don't believe they have a bassist right now.
I mean, probably not. And it's pretty common. Like, I mean, you can just I mean, a lot of those bands play to a click, as do
Yeah.
we. So the good thing about that is if one member is out, you can just take the studio tracks, take that stem
Yeah.
from that particular song or songs, and just send them through the PA. because everyone uses a computer live, and I control all
Right.
of our backing tracks myself when we play. So I'm in control of starting and stopping things,
Yeah.
when that happens as well, lead ins, count ins, all of that jazz. So it really goes, except for a drummer. I mean, I guess drummers are kind of irreplaceable in that fact, although I guess you could play the studio drums through the PA, and people have, but it does look kind of awkward without a big drum set on stage.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you could always just write it. You could always just
Yeah,
write and input it into the DAW.
yeah, exactly. I mean, people have done it before. One of our good friends' bands, Smothered Sun, their
Yeah.
drummer couldn't be at a show, so they actually had to do that. They had to take their
Oh,
studio
damn.
track for, yeah, they had to take their
That's
studio
crazy.
tracks for the drums and send everything through the PA. So, I mean, I feel for them there. Luckily, we've never had to do that, and I don't think we would play a show if I couldn't be there. We had to do that. It's not the same.
No, no, it
And I would
isn't.
I would feel bad for them being in that position. And we've
Yeah.
played shows before where Kyle can't be there, and sometimes that does happen where he has kind of a very strict work schedule where he's
Yep.
on call a lot. So oftentimes he can't make it to a show, and we'll just send his tracks only through the PA. That way things are still full. And then Ed will use two guitar cabs and a stereo formation. That way we still get a really full sound.
So, it's time for a little controversy
Oh boy.
because I am just the guy who stands at the show. I do a little bopping around, but I'm there to enjoy it. And I don't get my enjoyment out of crowd killing. What is your opinion on crowd killing? Because man, I have never seen a guy go as crazy as some dude in a red shirt at the show at your show. He,
Some dude, oh
yeah,
my God, I think I know who you're talking about.
yeah, man.
Um, I'm gonna shout him out right now because it's fucking hilarious. I know exactly who you're talking about, and when I was watching him do it, he's okay. So he plays in a band. He played in a band that was there that night. He's
Yeah,
the drummer of said band and also a good friend of mine.
yep,
Awesome dude. But like that's his thing. It's hilarious to watch him do it. His name's Corey. He's
yep,
he's from DHS, which is
yeah,
a hardcore band based out of Portland. The whole name is Department of Homeland Security. They're
yep.
awesome dudes. I love DHS. They're some of my favorite guys ever. But that's Corey's thing. He loves to crowd kill, and it's just hilarious watching this short ass guy just go ballistic.
He did go ballistic.
Yeah, yeah, he did
Yeah,
too. I think it was during Rat Blood, wasn't it? It was either
yeah,
during, yeah, I think it
it
was during
was.
Rat Blood. He was just beating the ever-loving shit out of people. Personally, so this gets to my opinion on the matter. Personally, I don't do that. I'm too old to be putting myself
Yeah, yeah,
in that position to do that. Do I like watching people do it because it's kind of funny and reckless and funny in a reckless sense?
yeah,
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Would I want to be on the receiving end of it? And do I understand why people don't like it? Absolutely.
yeah.
But at the same time, if you're going to a show like that, you kind of have to understand the position you're in.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, if you're standing in that zone during bands that have crowd killing or,
Yeah,
hate moshing or whatever you want to call it,
right.
you have to understand that there is a possibility you're going to get hit and it's not going to feel good.
Yeah,
So if you're someone like me and like you who wants to observe the music and
yeah,
take it in, because that's just the kind of way that I've always been, you stand a little bit further back. That way you're out
yeah.
of out of reach of that stuff and you can safely watch and laugh hysterically as I was doing as Corey was taking all those people out. It was funny.
Maybe I was just too close to the border. The because you're not safe at that line between the pit
No,
and
yeah. I
not.
mean, even then you can get pushed back and people jump into you and Yeah, it gets kind of wild. No one's safe in that first like 2 to 3 rows of people at the border.
Right, nobody is. I realized that when he came around and uh nearly kicked somebody in the face into me.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
it was kind of wild, but it's entertaining to watch.
yeah,
That's for sure.
it really is. If you're not a heavy music lover, there is a difference between hardcore dancing and uh crowd killing
Crowd
or
killing for
crowd
sure.
killing, or I wouldn't really call it hardcore dancing at a hardcore punk show. But you're gonna run into
Right.
the crowd killers there, and
Yeah,
you're
I'm
also
sure
gonna
will.
you're gonna also run into some crazy synchronized moments where it's like, oh damn, they're all moving in the same direction.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy to watch, especially during like two-step parts or, I guess breakdowns or fight riffs. Fight riffs, I guess, are the parts where you see more of the crowd killing. But I guess that can happen really at any point anyone feels like they're gonna do it.
Yeah. The DHS set was nuts with the two step.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
They kill it with the two step.
Yeah, DHS, they're awesome. Those are homies.
I thought it was funny um that you start DHS goes on and people are really, really moshing, really going for it. And then, it's the same thing. And then Rat Blood goes on and they really start going crazy. And then the fourth band plays. And it's almost like a kid who's had too much sugar who's just winding down for the day. Because by the time you guys came on, it was like, oh,
Yeah,
it's bedtime. We're all just going to,
dude, I felt
enjoy
like
it.
it was bedtime too.
Yeah. Uh,
But
I
I
was,
mean, that's to be expected when you're the last band of the night. It's hard to get that engagement going,
yeah.
especially when in our kind of music where people are just moving the whole time. So it doesn't really hurt my feelings in that fact. I'm there to play, I'm there to have fun, I'm there to show my music to the world. It doesn't really matter too much to me if people aren't moving. What matters to me is the reception of said music and our set. People come up to us afterwards and they're like, "Oh, we like that," or people buy merch or stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
God, cat, stop! You're moving my mic stand.
You guys started playing, and I felt like, wow, I don't know if people will, um, mosh and hardcore dance for this because it just kind of, the attitude kind of changed. It was kind of like, all right, now we're here to like just appreciate their EP release. It was
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, I get that too, absolutely.
Yeah.
And people were probably doing that as well. But for me as a drummer, I mean, I'm not really paying attention to that stuff
No, you're
when I play.
too locked in.
Especially where I play to a click and I'm just paying attention. I'm locked in. Like I'm not paying attention to that shit unless shit gets really wild and some fucked up shit starts happening. Which I mean, in past shows, it
Oh,
definitely has. You
absolutely.
see some
Yeah.
crazy shit in the pit, and you're just like, "Whoa, man!"
What do you think about the photography at the show, specifically when the flash is on and they're taking a picture of you? Does that distract you at all?
No, man, I'm so locked in that moments like that very often don't bother me. I'm so locked. A lot of the times too, I have my head down and
Yeah.
my eyes are sometimes even closed
Yeah.
because I'm trying to prevent the sweat from burning my eyeballs
Oh,
out.
I bet that can be an issue sometimes, a long set.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
is. I mean, some of those rooms get really, really hot, so it can be difficult.
Yeah, the venue you just played had great AC.
It did. It was
It was
actually
weird.
awesome.
What do you think about veteran halls in particular, where you just played? Is it always a better experience because there's more space? I like when people have a few at shows and have a good time, but no alcohol and kind of an extra respect of the space because it's being used for a
Yeah,
lot.
free.
Yeah.
Right. Um, I feel like the vet halls provide a more intimate experience for people that are just fans. I feel like it's easier to approach bands whom
Yeah.
you look up to or who you want to meet or see for the first time or buy merch from or talk to. I mean, it's like one big hangout sesh, you go there and everyone's all friends. It's like a community, really. That's how the hardcore scene and vet halls are, really. If people
Testament to the
want to
work.
drink or smoke or do any of that stuff, typically in vet halls, they'll do it outside of there to be respectful, which is
Right.
nice.
None of those the drama that you just mentioned. I think it's a
Yeah.
testament to the work that was put in after,
Yeah.
some of the said, fucked up shows. Those
Yeah, I
had
mean,
gotten
because
done and then things went quiet, but then when it picked back up, I don't know who basically told everybody, y'all got to mind your P's and Q's, but whoever did, they kind of shaped things the way they are now.
yeah, I mean, before I've been to plenty of shows at that said venue down in Wyndham, and it had the name it did for a reason because you go to a show there, and a lot of people went to shows there specifically looking for fights
Yeah.
because back in the mid 2000 teens, 2015, 14, 16, up
Yeah.
until then, until they stopped having shows there, it was known as the Wyndham Fight Center.
Yeah.
But it
Oh
was,
shoot.
yeah, it
Damn.
was it was known as that for a reason. I've been there on multiple occasions where the show's been stopped because people are just beating the shit out of each other in the pit.
Yep. Yeah, look out for the chair.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
thing too.
I've had a pretty damn good time having this conversation, but
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
unfortunately got to wrap up due to time.
Is what it is. I've had a great time, man.
I can't wait to see what's next. I
Yeah,
really can't. It's going to be
we've got
pretty
some
damn
things in
good.
store.
Um, this has been Kelly Banks, Death's Hand drummer. Look out for him. Look out for Death's Hand stuff. And this has been the Headphones Only podcast, episode number 2. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, even the bad comments. Please leave them. And
Yeah.
I'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Peace, guys.